So we'll be able to come back to you after the fact if we can't get to your question or comment during the session. Also, a little bit of an anomaly. I did have some power issues as a result of the storm last night. My power has come off and on, as well as my internet, 3 times today, and it might happen again today. We know the workmen are in our neighborhood. So I'd like to start off by just saying I have a backup in my colleague, LaVon McLean. She's waving into the camera. So if I should just mysteriously disappear during this session, it's okay. We have somebody else that will pick up the reins and she can carry us over to the finish line. So just a little unusual circumstance today, and for that I apologize. Also, I do have animals in the house, 2 dogs. Let me apologize in advance if, I don't know, Amazon comes to the door or something. So with that, let me turn our attention to our speakers for the day. Wade Foley of Social Grit and our own Elizabeth Davis from Aparo. And what I'm going to do is give them a moment to introduce themselves and give us a brief sentence or 2 about what they do. And then we'll get our content underway. Wade, let's start with you. Please take a moment and introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Wade. I'm the owner of Social. We're a marketing agency that focuses on social media, and right here in Charlotte. So we work with a range of clients, you know, anything from solopreneurs and smaller startups to larger nonprofits and e-commerce businesses. So everything from, you know, managing daily social media, content strategy, and paid social as well.
Thanks. Elizabeth.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. I am Aparo's marketing manager. And so I just kind of run the gamut with various digital marketing and social media component of that. So along with our director of development, Bershad, we kind of work on making sure the community knows about the work that we do and the services we offer.
Thanks. Okay, let's advance your slide deck and we'll set the frame for our conversation today.
It's slow. I'm trying to advance it. There we go.
Yeah, it's no worries. So as we said a moment ago, folks, what we'd like to do is talk a little bit about how you can leverage social media to expand your reach. And in the title, we talked a little bit about service capacity. So what I'd like to do is turn the conversation over to Elizabeth to, number 1, address how we're defining service capacity. And then once we do that, let's hop over to the next slide and we'll start delving into our content today.
Awesome. So we realize service capacity can have several meanings, but today we're focusing on it in the sense of it being the combination of reach and depth that you are able to serve your constituents. And then further within the context of this conversation, when we say we're expanding service capacity, we mean that to exist in one of 2 ways. So the first is direct expansion, which might mean you're serving more people or serving them more deeply. And the second is indirect expansion. So an example could be creating content on social media, projecting a message that enables you to raise more money, which then enables you to go back to that direct expansion and serve more people and serve them more deeply. Now we'll advance.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So this slide right here is essentially framing up where we want to go with our conversation today. And what we'll do is sort of take turns, if you will, with Wade and Elizabeth, giving us their perspectives, their input and ideas on how we can leverage this. So let's start with the why go live question to begin with. Elizabeth.
Yeah, so there are many advantages for going live. First of all, social media algorithms tend to favor video, especially Facebook. And when you're going live, it allows you to create this video content that also enables you to directly engage with the people that are watching your content. They can comment and they can ask questions, and right in the moment you can answer those questions and really create that connection with them. So it's a huge advantage. And then within that too, people can share your video as you're live streaming, which enables you to grow your audience as it's happening, versus with, say, a webinar, you might be kind of capped at your audience that you currently have.
Ah, I gotcha. Wade, how does that resonate with you in your business?
Yeah, video definitely been key over the last few years, and especially now with everything that's going on with the pandemic and everyone being home. We've really seen live video reaching a lot more people. I know it's up over 50% from January. So yeah, really starting to think about how you can get creative with video. It's helping reach a lot more people. One of the great things too is when you go live from your accounts, all your followers are notified too, unless they have turned those settings off. So being able to notify them, and like Elizabeth said, being able to get shares from that and reach more of a network of your followers. It's just the best way right now to really grow your audience and reach as many people as possible.
Well, this is a non-marketing person's question. Do I have to have a fancy camera to do this stuff?
No, so one of the great things is how cost effective it is to go live now. With everything that's been focused more on video, as long as you have a smartphone, you can go live. I know we'll get into more of how to plan ahead and some things to keep in mind as you're preparing to go live. But yeah, definitely don't need expensive equipment or a video production company now to go live and reach your network.
Perfect, thanks. Elizabeth, would you add anything to that, or you feel comfortable?
Yeah, I think what Wade said is great, and just to kind of second that, like when people are watching the presentation, they're less concerned with the camera quality as long as they can hear you well. So really, like, it's all about getting that message across, and yeah, just it all goes back into it's a really helpful thing.
Perfect, perfect. Well, one of the things you mentioned to me, Elizabeth, was the notion that it gives people a better sense of who's behind the organization. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think a lot of times with social media, it's easy to kind of lose the who behind it and the who behind the messaging. It can feel a little anonymous. So when you go live, you can really bring the people in from your organization who have their boots on the ground, who are directly working with those constituents, and you can give them a platform to share their story and the work that they're witnessing happening and stuff. And yeah, sometimes you might have a stagnant post where it's either just a caption or it's a caption with just a stagnant image. And with that, you might get a little bit of the message, but you really don't have personality that you can get when you go live. So it's just a great extra dynamic that you get to.
Wade, I'm interested, have any of your clients ever approached you with that very focus in mind? In other words, hey, we want people to know who we are. And if so, how'd you address it?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, we try to do when we first meet with everyone is find out, what that story is, who they are, why they've started this organization or this business, and figure out how we can try to creatively tell that story. So it's a lot of time of working, with the client and the organization to figure out what their goals are, who they're trying to reach, and how we can, reach those people in creative ways. And so like Elizabeth was saying, live video and video in particular is just great for really humanizing the organization, putting a face behind it, showing what those goals are. You can give so much information in one live video to your followers. So I think it's really helpful. And one of the great things too, which I'm sure we'll get into a little more, is just the interaction, the live interaction with your followers, your audience there. So people can hop on and ask questions live, and you can answer them live. So it's really just that back and forth of really connecting with the people who are interested in what you're doing.
Elizabeth shared some statistics with me that I was astounded by. And again, full disclosure, I'm not a marketing gal, so it's easy to surprise me. But Elizabeth, speak just a little bit about those numbers you were telling me about social media and videos and sort of the percentages of shares and that kind of thing.
Yeah, let me look at that stat real quick. It's from February 2019, so there might be a newer number now, but at that point, the stat showed that social media videos generate up to 1,200% more shares than text and images combined. So that's tremendous growth, and it's just a testimonial to how much more engaging video is than other types of content.
Thanks. I'm not sure if that's a big number, but to me, it's a big number. I think it sounds pretty phenomenal. There's one other thing you mentioned to me that I'd like for you guys to talk a little bit about. That's the copycat effect. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I like to call this the copycat effect. It's where when you're scrolling through your news feed and you see a live video pop up, it might be one you had known was going to happen, or maybe it's something you hadn't heard of yet, and you kind of pause and you see the numbers on it start to grow, because with live video you can see how many people are tuning in, and you can see people reacting live and commenting and adding those likes and loves and all that. And when you see that and you see that engagement growing, it kind of gives you this idea that, like, oh, maybe this is content I want to tune into. Maybe this is worth engaging with. And so from just seeing those other people engage with it, you kind of want to copy, and you start tuning into something you might not have had any intention of tuning into before.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the FOMO effect too, fear of missing out on, what's going on, and just piquing that interest for people.
Good point. Good point. Something else you guys were talking about was the fact that live gives you the ability to break your own news. And I found that very interesting because, again, not having considered this before, I was just thinking, oh, just call the media, call Channel 9 or something like that. But really, you're positioning this in such a way that you're controlling your breaking news. Am I getting that right? Elizabeth.
Yeah. So I'm sure for all the other people from nonprofits here today, you can relate to having this great news story and you pitch it to the media and then you hear crickets, right? But with going live, you can really take that story and take its projection into your own hands. And we've all got followers on our channels. Those followers have friends and other followers, and we can break our own news. We can share the latest updates as they're happening, and really get the message across in the way that we want to do, taking control of that narrative even. So it's a really great benefit.
That is interesting. And Wade, a question for you, like this whole taking control of your own breaking news thing, have you found with your clients, is there a cadence that works, or is it like as it happens is best, or is there a best? Is it you do what works for you?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely dependent, on each organization and on each client, because you really want to plan ahead and make sure what you're putting out to the public is consistent with, your tone of voice, the type of, marketing plan and style that you have prepared. But I also, like Elizabeth was saying, it's great to be able to move quicker, not have to wait on throwing things out there to the media. You can really plan with your team and move quickly to get news out there. This coming Tuesday is Giving Tuesday now, a special Giving Tuesday for what's going on with the pandemic for nonprofits. So, with some of my nonprofit clients, we've really been able to quickly put together a plan for, what we want to put out there, what that content strategy is, what we're raising money for. And, if we had to wait for pitching that to the media or anything like that, it would have been a lot harder to get things out there as quickly. So, we can work with their CEO, with their leadership to really find out what that messaging should be, and put that out there for everyone. And then, like I said before, just being able to engage live directly with that audience is so key for really helping with fundraising and any breaking news that you might have.
That's a good point. I had not mentioned the fundraising piece, but but I'm sure that it can have an impact, and I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah.
So guys, given that we've sort of laid the groundwork for why you should even consider going live, let's move to the next bullet point and talk a little bit about what those top platforms are for live streaming. Elizabeth, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I would say
Wait, could I, we had a question from one of the attendees for Wade around, do you have any specific tips for Giving Tuesday Now that you could share with our attendees?
Yeah, sure. So I would say, some of the things that we've been working on that we've seen work well is just trying to quickly put together, what that whole strategy is going to be. Instead of just putting things out there sporadically or the day of, trying to have a plan together. We're less than a week out now, but the pieces of content that each day are going to lead up to that Tuesday. And then, on Giving Tuesday Now, having something throughout the whole day, whether that's one piece of content every couple hours that you're putting out, but just making sure that you're keeping your audience engaged. So I would definitely plan for some live video. With some of the nonprofits that I work with, they're mental health and addiction treatment centers. So we're working with a lot of the clinicians to get content and pre-record videos beforehand. And then planning out some live videos on the day of. So on Tuesday, we'll have them going live, talking about how the pandemic has affected their organization, what they're raising money for, some success stories of working with, people struggling in the community. And really just, pulling on that emotional cord, telling emotional stories, getting people invested, and showing them really why they should be donating to this cause. So I think just planning ahead and making sure that you're having, quality, engaging content that you're putting out there, leading up to and then on the day of the event. And if I can add to one thing we'll probably get into with Instagram too, but a lot of news has come out in the last week from Facebook and Instagram. So one great thing that we're doing too is now people can go live on Instagram and they can choose your nonprofit. If you're qualified as an Instagram nonprofit, they can raise money straight from their Instagram live. So they can go live, choose your nonprofit, and then people can donate money as they're live on Instagram. And then you can track, you can engage and thank people there. And then afterward, they can put an I donated sticker in their story. So really just helping all their followers see that they donated to your cause. So just a lot of cool features now with Facebook and Instagram that are helping with things like this.
Thanks for that answer, Wade. I appreciate it. And before I turn back over to Elizabeth, this is a perfect opportunity to say, this is what happens in real life when we're having these Zoom meetings and why we recommend that you have buddies to help you with this stuff. While we're doing this meeting, we're monitoring Q&A and chat and all that kind of stuff. I'm in the middle of answering a couple of Q&As privately. Lavon's over here watching chat. I'm moving on. She's telling me, wait, we have a question. So my point to all this is, guys, this is how it works in real life. And if you're worried about any of this, we're all in the middle of it, and have a buddy to help you. Thanks. All right, with that, let's get back on track. So Elizabeth, what we had started to delve into a little bit was the best platforms.
Yeah. So I would say within the nonprofit world, well, first let me backtrack a little and say when picking your platform, you should really consider who you're trying to communicate with and where those people are. So it's probably where you have the biggest following, but also going back to what your messaging is, it's where your relevant audience is the largest and the most engaging. Both in that, usually in the nonprofit space, we tend to see that Facebook and Instagram are the best for that, especially for going live. And then another great option is, what's the YouTube one? What is it called?
YouTube. Oh, it was Google Hangouts, wasn't it?
It's formerly Google Hangouts on Air, but now it's been moved over to YouTube, and it's called YouTube.
Okay.
So those are awesome, great options. Very user friendly. With Instagram and I think Facebook, Wade, correct me if I'm wrong, you can actually have two people from different places chime in together and kind of live stream together.
Yeah, so you can do that on Instagram, and then that was one of the things that was just announced for Facebook again this week that will be rolling out over the next couple of weeks. Is you can now you used to be able to bring a guest on Facebook. They took it away, and now it's coming back again.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's a great feature because say you want to do a Q&A with an expert authority or something, you can have that interview and make it seem like you're all in the same room, even if you're across the world from each other.
Cool. Are there any other tools that we should think about, or really in our nonprofit space, these are really the key tools that most people are looking at? Yes.
Yeah, I would say Facebook Live and Instagram Live are the two main ones. Like Elizabeth said, YouTube Live and webinar could be good too, because you can do longer form video. But usually I would recommend only if you have, a really engaged audience, a lot of subscribers on there. Otherwise, I always recommend Instagram Live and Facebook Live. The good thing about those, like Elizabeth was saying, having a guest on, with some of our clients, we've been doing weekly IG lives where we'll have a CEO of one of the organizations every Thursday at 7 p.m. We'll have a guest on to talk with him for 15 to 20 minutes. And, just being consistent with that and bringing on new guests that people are interested in learning from the community or staff members, you get a lot of different information from all these people. And the great thing too is when you're going live together, you're reaching each other's audiences. So, if you're bringing on someone with, 10,000 followers from the community who has a really engaged audience, a lot of their followers are jumping onto your live and learning about your organization too. So it's really a win-win. You're helping cross-promote and reach each other's audiences. And then as long as you're putting out information.
Uh-oh, we might have just lost Wade.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. We got you back.
Okay. Okay.
Yay, technology.
Did I cut off there?
Just at the very end. I mean,
Okay.
we missed the last two sentences.
Yes, I think I just ended by saying, it's just helped to reach each other's audiences. And if you're consistent with it and putting out valuable content, you'll continue to see the number of people jumping on to watch grow each week, which is really what we've seen with a lot of our nonprofits.
Well, that's great. I mean, it sounds really exciting. And given that background that you've laid, what are some tips that you give us for, how to approach this? Like it scares me to think about having to do a big production, but I'm hearing you guys saying, nah, it's not really a big production. Think of these things. So what would you tell us to think of?
Yes, so I would. Just one example from one of our nonprofits where the CEO is doing that every week. He had no experience going live before this. We started a couple months ago, and now he's like a pro. He's very into it. He knows exactly what he needs to do. So we just walked him through it in the beginning, and so it's definitely easy to get the hang of, and I think just very beneficial if you're doing it consistent enough.
Elizabeth, how should we get ready for stuff like that? Like, is there anything we should do ahead of time to sort of frame up what we do when we go live?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you really want to just figure out like what is the goal of, I'm so sorry, that's my dog. What is the goal in going live? Like what message do you want to communicate? Do you want to educate your audience on something? Do you want to start a discussion on something? Do you want to entertain? And then from there, I think it's you want to go over some more tactical things. Like, do you want to have someone else kind of managing the questions that people are commenting on? And then do you want to answer those live, or do you want to do that at the end? Kind of figure out kind of what the flow of your presentation will be. And then just going into more tactical things, you want to make sure that your internet's working well, at least enough for a great audio connection, as well as just one other one. Making sure that you're promoting ahead of time that you will be going live. Really amp it up, get people excited, and make sure that you do have an audience there when go time happens.
I want to come back to that promotion thing, but before we do, you know, one thing that I'm wondering about on this, you know, going live, what if you're an organization that deals in confidential matters or information or activities that might fall under some sort of confidentiality laws? How would we handle that?
Yeah, I can take that. You know, we have some nonprofits who fall under that. You know, they have a lot of HIPAA regulations, so we can't share any client stories or images or videos or anything, you know, dealing with clients. So we really just have to get creative, trying to highlight staff stories that they have, success stories from clients, you know, testimonials, you know, anonymous when need be. So trying to get as creative as possible and really focus more on the stories that the staff has, trying to get them involved, board members and community members too, you know, since we aren't able to show actual clients. So it is tough because it makes it harder to show some of the emotional appeal and aspects of those. But really just, you know, trying to come up with as much creative content as we can and work around that.
Gotcha. Elizabeth, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I think you can also get creative with your content strategy in terms of maybe when I'm one-on-one with a client, I have to be very private about the stuff that we talk about. But on a broader, higher level, what are some pieces of information that I can share that kind of apply to everyone and that allow us to present our organization as thought leaders in this field? For example, if you are with a mental health organization, how can you maybe kind of present like mental health best practices as one of your videos and start a conversation there where you're not sharing anyone's private information, but you're still showing the world, whether it's potential donors or volunteers, or even potential people that don't know about your organization but might need your services, that you know what you're doing and you're able to be a helping hand for them.
Gotcha. Thanks for that. So I want to look back around. You made a mention of promotion. So what are some things, let's start with you, Elizabeth. What are some things we should do to make sure that we're promoting live events in advance of these things happening?
Yeah, I would say promote it like it's a typical event, more or less. If you have a newsletter, make sure you let people know there. Tee it up in other social media posts in the weeks ahead. Let them know what they can expect, why they should be excited about it. And you can even make a live video promoting another live video. You know, if they say video does so much better than other posts, like make a video to promote that you're going to be having this event online.
Good. I like that. Wade, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, definitely just making sure that you're specific as possible, you know, promoting that in advance. And then, yeah, there's so many, you know, different avenues that you can, and, you know, promote it, like Elizabeth was saying, on your other social accounts, through email, making sure you let all your staff and board members and constituents know, you know, things are coming up. Try to get them as involved as possible and engaging. Really always the place that I start, trying to get the staff and board members involved, you know, and reaching out to their networks too, to share as you start to grow these channels, especially as you're starting out, you know, and you don't have a lot of people watching. So definitely plan ahead, you know, find different ways and make some, you know, creative graphics and videos to promote it. And then, you know, afterward, I always say, you know, don't just throw the video up and just leave it and forget about it. There's always, you can always repurpose that content. So if you have a 10-minute video, you know, a live video, you can save that. You can, you know, edit it and take a 1-minute clip and put it on Instagram, you know, a 15-second clip that's really valuable for Instagram stories. You can use it in your email newsletters, on your website. So you can always, you know, repurpose the content and reshare it, you know, throughout the month, throughout the quarter, throughout the year. Just, you know, really taking advantage of the content that you have. So it's saving you time and helping reach more people.
Hey, Wade, we had a question around, you know, what's the best way to record and save those live recordings so that you can upload those later or have them useful for viewers in the future? Any suggestions around that?
Yeah, so the Facebook Lives will automatically save and stay on your page or your group. So you can go and you can download those if you want to edit them. But those are very easy to reshare. For Instagram, it's a little more complicated. So once you end the IG Live video, you need to make sure that you click Add to Stories and Download. So that way it'll be on your stories for 24 hours. And then there are some programs that you can use if you want to save the Instagram lives. So we use a Chrome extension, and I can, if anyone wants to know what that is, I can share that after this chat too. But that makes it easy for us to download the video and audio, edit that, and then we can share it on Facebook or in email newsletters afterward too. And so those are the two main ones, that we use to make sure we're sharing it afterward. And if anyone has any questions about how to save any of those, I'm happy to answer those later too.
So, Levon, I wanted to make sure, did you just catch the question about great tools for capturing or recording live videos? I didn't hear.
So that was part of it. I know we had a question around what's the best way to save and record and use those later, but you just touched on another question that we were asked around tools to capture the live videos, and you mentioned, Wade, one around the Chrome extension. So yeah, I think some of the attendees were interested in some of the tools that you use when you're making a Facebook or Instagram live.
Yeah,
I can put one of those in the chat, actually, the Chrome extension. If I can.
Well, the other thing we can do, guys, for that is we can capture these and just post them with our webinar recording as well. By all means, let's share what we can at the moment, but just know that after the fact, guys, if you don't catch it during the session, we'll make sure we include those tips in our resources after the fact.
And the one thing to keep in mind for IG live videos is once you save it, it won't have any of the engagement. So anyone who's liked or commented, it will just have the video.
No, that's a good point.
And then we had one other question around, is there a way to integrate recorded content into a live stream?
You said recorded content into a live stream?
Yeah, any suggestions around integrating that into a live stream?
So you trying to understand, so you mean if you had pre-recorded video and you went live, trying to show that pre-recorded video within the live?
Yes.
That's not something that we've done with anyone previously. You can, put things on the screen like polls, donations, things like that. But yeah, I haven't done anything as far as having pre-recorded video and adding it to the live. I would suggest keeping those separate unless you really needed it for some type of event or, a special case like that. A lot of times we'll have content around pre-recorded videos and then we'll have the live video where we can interact with them. But no, that's not something that I've done. I don't know if you know, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I've seen something that said you could create a pre-recorded video and publish it as though it were live, but it kind of defeats the purpose at the end of the day because you can't really respond to those questions in real time.
Well, I wonder if maybe you might have an opportunity in a live event. I'm speculating here, but you may, in the middle of a live event, want to show, oh, look at this clip of XYZ. I don't know if that's the case or not, but perhaps that's the thinking behind the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we are, trying to think of some creative things like that for, we had nonprofits at events coming up in May, which have now back to the fall. So, trying to plan a whole virtual event, taking that whole in-person event and taking it online. So, trying to get creative with still having people dress up and, do pre-recorded videos, like, making viewers feel like they're there in person. And then mixing a combination of those pre-recorded videos with live videos whether that's, bands playing, auctioning, going live with the auction items that were for sale and showing who wins those items. And even some really cool things we've been looking into, like live trivia. There's programs where you can do trivia through Facebook Live, and people can comment their answers and it'll record it. Watch parties that you can do through things like Netflix Party. So just a lot of cool things that you can do now, that everything's going more live.
Those are some neat ideas. Yeah. Okay, so let's
And I added that extension in the chat. Sorry.
You did? Okay, cool. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so that's the Google Chrome extension, and we'll make sure we include that. Yeah, for Instagram, we'll make sure we include that in our resources after the fact too. Thank you for that.
Hey Wade, any specific success stories to share on virtual events?
Virtual events. So some of the things for Giving Tuesday we've done in the past is, try to get very specific on emotional campaigns for nonprofits, like I talked about. So things like doing live videos talking about how, this mental health center needs a van to, take people to and from treatment. So we did a lot of virtual live videos for that, and then worked with local media as well, to just, get pictures and videos of the van, talk to staff members about, the importance of getting a new van and fundraising for those. So that really helped create, more donations coming in for that, because there's a very specific reason of what they need. Other things we're planning right now, as far as an entire virtual event is, we have a nonprofit who has a movie event. It's called Night for Movies, and it's their biggest fundraiser every year. And, with that being in a movie theater, most likely it's not going to happen even by this fall. So just going through an entire plan of how we can take that all online. So that's where it comes in, of like doing a Netflix party where we can still show a movie and get all of those people to watch together and interact together, through a Netflix party online video. The trivia idea, working with a lot of local bands and people who could do things like yoga, workouts live, crafting and how-tos. So really bringing the whole community together over a 2-day event, where it's keeping people engaged, and we're also having an auction site where people can bid on raffle and auction items, throughout the whole month leading up to that event. And then we'll go live, show who wins each prize. So that's one of the big things that we're working on now. That's, a completely virtual event.
Are you finding that most of your clients are leaning that way already to convert to virtual?
Yeah, it's interesting because, they've moved that event to August, but we're already planning virtual because they're kind of assuming people aren't going to want to gather together, 300 people together by August. And then another client has, an annual golf outing. And so we're already thinking about what that might look like by September if that needs to go virtual. So yeah, I think a lot of, we're trying to at least start the conversation with a lot of clients about what that might look like. So we have that plan in place and we can start promoting, months ahead of time. Because, right now it's just, no one really knows what it's gonna be like by the fall. And then some other things, it's not a nonprofit, but, we work with a local co-working space. And so for them, they've had to close down the central offices. They've had to close down their flex space where people usually work out of. And so it's been really interesting to just brainstorm what we can do to keep their members engaged and involved. So for them, we started a private Facebook group where only members can join. And so we're constantly, daily putting out resources for them. We've determined which members would be good ambassadors, and we're having them, post engaging resources and content, trying to promote anything that members have going on, whether that be courses or webinars. And then every Tuesday, we have one member that goes live and talks about a specific subject for half an hour. And then we try to pull in the community too for things like Takeout Tuesday to help restaurants, and how-tos. So we'll go live on Instagram every Thursday morning, and have, members show how-to. So it could be making a specialty coffee. It could be changing a bike tire, whatever someone's business is around. We try to just highlight members and still provide that value, so everyone's not, just canceling their membership, still trying to provide value to everyone, so that once they reopen, the community will be just as strong, if not stronger.
Yeah, there's no doubt that everybody is looking at different tools that we can leverage to keep moving forward. And as you say, keep our engagement high, keep our value high. And yeah, I think this conversation will go on for quite some time as we figure these things out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, with that, let's show a few examples of some folks who have gone live with some things that they're doing. And I think our next slide, Elizabeth, can you talk about that for us just a little bit, please?
So here are some of the nonprofits in Charlotte who are already leveraging Facebook Live. Opera Caroline is providing entertainment. Even though we can't all go to the theater, we can still appreciate opera arts. She Built This City, that's a nonprofit that focuses on teaching women and girls of all ages about the construction industry. And so she's been going live teaching people how to do kind of like mini construction projects. I think in this one it was a wall shelf, if you can kind of see those blocks on the table. And then down in the bottom corner we have Zab's Place, which is a thrift shop over in Matthews or Waxhaw. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, but they employ young adults with special talents, and part of the program, outside of having them help them out in the shop, is that they teach them how to leverage their skills to create art that they can take back and resell for extra income, and also just learning skills that they can put to use in life. So Rahel has been teaching how to do arts and crafts from home using Facebook Live. So these are organizations that during this crisis, they might not have been able to continue serving their constituents, but through technology and particularly social media, they've been able to continue advancing their mission and even expanding that service capacity. Because say with Zab's Place, for example, they can only employ so many people. Now on social media, they can teach an infinite number of people how to learn the skills that they're teaching.
So Elizabeth, on this deck, I see in the image to play. When we post this deck for people to use after the fact, are those the links to those examples? Are they live links?
These are not live links, but I can go back and link them into the deck so that when we share this, you can click through.
Yeah, let's do, so people can actually have a look-see at what it is that we're trying to give them an example of. That'd be great. So guys, we'll make sure those links are in there before we post the deck. So we're approaching 12:45, and I want to make sure we get in this last slide. There's not a whole lot on the slide itself, but there is some content that we'd like to share before we begin to wrap today, and I want to make sure that we give justice to thinking about other ways to use social media, just a few ideas, and then allow a little bit more time for Q&A. So Elizabeth, let's start with you. Let's have a few ideas around other ways that I might be able to expand my reach if maybe I'm not ready to do live video, or I'm just not in a position to do it right now.
Great. One really fun tactic, or I guess two technically, is you can use polls on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and you can use those to kind of have a more informal, less in-your-face survey where you're able to get that feedback from your constituents or your donors or your volunteers and learn about how to improve your program, so you can free up time to kind of put that time back into more service capacity expansion. And you can also use a quiz feature, which is a kind of fun way to implement I guess you can kind of use it in fun ways where you can find out what people know, where there are information gaps within your model and the work that you do compared to what the general public knows. And those are awesome. And then just in general, to keep using social media to share out the impactful work that you guys have been doing. Let them know what's been effective, how people's lives have changed because of the work you're doing.
Wade, how about Facebook groups? Do you have anything to add about that? Is that something that we should consider?
Yeah, it's a great tool. Again, really depends on the client, on the audience that you're trying to reach. But I would definitely, recommend it for certain organizations. Like I said, with Advent Coworking, it works out really well because of what's going on right now. We already have that in place, so members feel like they're still getting value. They can't connect in person. For other organs, if you have alumni from your organ that you want to, keep in contact with and have them connect with, that's another great example. You can have a public group or you have a closed group. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so just having that group where people can connect with each other, and that way you can really take advantage of more user-generated content. So it's not, you having to prompt them every day. The point is to really grow and cultivate that community so that they're engaging with each other. And that's only going to help you create more loyal brand advocates for your organization who are going to continue to share what you're putting out there with their networks, which is only going to lead to more people, creating more awareness around what you're doing. So it can be really good. It just depends on your goals and, the type of community that you're trying to cultivate.
Understood. I appreciate that. So, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, were you getting ready to say something?
Oh, no, I just agree with all that. That was awesome.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. So that brings us sort of to the point where we wanted to wrap up this conversation in terms of just laying some ideas out there for, tapping into these platforms to do some live video feeds. And I'd like to encourage our audience, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to include in the Q&A or the chat, as you know, we're here to try to help answer those questions. And if you have something after the fact that you need some help with, you can always reach out to anyone at Aparo, and we'll be happy to help you or connect you with people that can help you with your question or your information that you're seeking. But let me loop back around and ask Elizabeth, what might you add, just any closing words, thoughts, words of encouragement, and so on and so forth before we begin to bring our session to a close?
Sure. Obviously, these are really different times, and everyone is probably really feeling the pain of missing that in-person human interaction. But if there's ever a time for social media to kind of come in and save the day, I'd say the time is now. Like, we can't physically be in the same room, but it's called social media for a reason, and it's such a great way to connect and stay updated with each other's lives and make sure that we know that we're all here for each other and that the good work is continuing.
Thank you. And Wade, any closing words or thoughts? Uh-oh, we might have lost Wade. Yeah, he's been having a little bit of difficulty, I think, with his connection today. I suppose the rest of you have heard a little bit of echo in his voice, and we just lost him.
Oh.
Are you back? I'm so sorry. I know that's so frustrating. So
Yeah.
I'm just offering you an opportunity to give us any closing words or thoughts.
Sure. Yeah. I think what Elizabeth said is spot on. I know one thing we didn't really touch on too much is engagement, but like she was saying, it's called social media. So trying to be as social as possible. One thing that really works out well, especially if you have limited time, is just engaging with as many related organizations and people as you can. That could be on Instagram. Something that works out really well for us is going through and searching strategic related hashtags and finding organizations that you want to connect or maybe cross promote with. And just going through and, you know, liking some of their posts and leaving really valuable comments, you know, especially for larger accounts. You know, a lot of people are going to see that comment that you leave them and then discover your business and what you're doing. So you're not just something like cool or some emojis, but taking a few seconds to really think of a valuable comment that you can leave. And then, you know, on Twitter, just using social listening to look for some keywords or things that people are that might relate to what you're doing as well. And just being proactive and starting some conversations there. That's really helpful. So just being as engaging and social as possible, and not just, you know, throwing things out there, posting content and not responding or engaging anyone.
Yeah, you know, you made one remark that is a perfect segue just to kind of whet the appetite of our audience. You know, you made the remark, listen to what your audience is saying, and listening out there. And one of the webinar topics that we're going to be getting into a little bit later down the line, probably after June, but we're going to be talking about listening. What does it mean to listen? How do we listen? How do we know we're hearing what people are saying? And how do we respond when we listen well? So you guys be on the lookout for more content about that. We're looking forward to addressing that a little bit later down the line in our webinar series. But to bring it back home for today, I'd like to thank Wade and Elizabeth both for, you know, your thoughtful dialogue and sort of prepping up these bullet points to share with people and just trying to give people some actionable information. Nothing that requires, you know, tons of research to get up and running, but these are things that really we can implement pretty quickly. And for that, I appreciate you offering such pragmatic information. And I'll reiterate to our audience, we'll be posting these resources, the deck and any resources that we mentioned, links and whatnot, to our site. That'll get published by tomorrow afternoon, and you guys are welcome to have access to it. And please don't hesitate to reach out to Aparo if there are any questions that you have around this or other technology topics, and we'll certainly be happy to try to connect you with the right resources for whatever your question is. So guys, I want to thank you again for your time today. I want to let you know that we just had a chat come in for a first-time attendee, thanking us for this and feeling like that this was very valuable and useful for them. And guys, that's exactly the kind of information we like to hear back from you, that this is what you need, and if it's what you need and what you want, we'll keep doing it. If we need to pivot a little bit, you need to let us know that. I have to tell you, I've tried telepathy. I'm not very successful with it. So we need to hear from you directly. With that, guys, I thank you so much for your time and attention. And to our listening audience, I hope we see you all back here next week. And if not next week, then another session soon thereafter. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Levon, thank you for backing me up. I appreciate it. And my power stayed on. All right, guys, everybody have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.